Take a moment to recall yourself, a year ago today, staring at your computer screen while your teacher lectures you through Zoom. How did you feel? Chances are you were unengaged and, quite frankly, much less happy than you are today. If you do feel this way, trust me, you're not alone. Strictly based on anecdotal data alone, it's obvious that this past year was a rough one for students. Grades dropping, less motivation, and just straight up being bored while you're staring at your computer all day. I can tell you personally that I feel that the student in me left on March 13th, 2020, and hasn't fully come back since. Before then, I would always make it my number one priority to get all my work done and turn it on time. Now I miss assignments without batting an eye. That, in combination with me not being able to fully learn the material that was given to me, is what made my sophomore year a living hell. Honestly, I can say that distance learning made me mildly depressed and dug me into a deep hole that I'm still trying to climb out of.
Investigations pointed out that students have experienced an increase in stress, anxiety, and depression, and have felt some negative feelings intensified, such as fear, worry, or boredom. Some students become more depressed because 100% virtual courses isolate them from the real interactions. They become lonely, and this makes their depression worse. Take a look at this graph that shows the rate of depression among teen students throughout the pandemic. As well as this, several studies show that students engaging in distance learning have a lack of motivation compared to previous years. According to Lean Lab Education, parents cited an absence of grades, resulting in their child not being willing to complete assignments. For me personally, I know exactly how this feels.
For lots of families, the pandemic had drastic effects on their financial security. As we can see from this table, many families were without a job at the height of COVID. Families already struggling with money were now dug into an even deeper hole. With an uncertain future and a possibility of not being able to meet month's rent, stress was common throughout numerous households. This unnatural amount of stress decreases performance, as displayed by this graph. Upon researching our topic, I asked several of my good friends if they had any negative experiences during online school. One of my good friends explained to me his experience, who will remain anonymous. I quote directly from him. "The pandemic hit my family extremely hard at the beginning. My mother works as a maid and my father cooks at a local cafe. Since a cafe isn't a necessary business and people were uncomfortable with strangers entering their home, we essentially had no income for a few months. Without an income, everyone was well aware of how challenging it would be to pay the rent. I couldn't keep this thought out of my mind, and my grades saw consequences. I hope we will never ever have to endure lockdown again."
In conclusion, it's safe to say that online school was detrimental for almost everybody, and it's not something that any of us want to relive.
Depression was rampant, and the world was overall a much sadder place.
On top of all of this, financial stress and family issues made it seem as if online school wasn't relevant at all.
Hopefully you can walk away from this presentation with a newfound gratefulness that you get to see your peers' faces every day, even though they may be covered with masks. Shut up! Alright, here we go.
We're filming right now. George and Nick, say hi.
Hi.
That's gonna end the bloopers.
Meng.
Even though they may be covered with masks. Stop! Blooper.